Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, February the 11th. Boy, we just have a wild stretch of weather across the nation, it looks like, for the next 10 days or so. We have multiple storm systems to deal with, accumulating snow today in much of the Mid-Atlantic region, with the highest amounts across central Virginia, D.C., Delmarva Peninsula, all the way into southern New Jersey. Lesser amounts as you go north and east. Certainly New York City will get far less than D.C., for example. Boston may get nothing at all out of this current system. Another system throws mixed precipitation into the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. Quickly on the heels of today's system, we're talking about later tomorrow, into tomorrow night, into the day on Wednesday. And then there's a strong setup developing for the weekend that will certainly include some heavy rainfall, and there certainly can be some snow on the front end, snow on the back end of this system in portions of the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. If it wasn't for the current system and the second system on Wednesday night, we'd probably be focused on the weekend. And if it wasn't for the weekend system, we might be focused on the threat that I see coming for the middle to latter part of next week along the eastern seaboard. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Again, a wild stretch of weather for the next 10 days or so across the nation. This is the latest radar loops from Weather Underground. Intellicast is the website to search for, and you can see the snow up here across the portions of the Ohio Valley now spreading to the east. It will probably reach the D.C. metro region by midday, Philadelphia area by mid to late afternoon, and then late afternoon to early evening across New York City. Again, expecting much more in the way of accumulating snow down in the southern Mid-Atlantic from this system compared to the northern Mid-Atlantic. On average, perhaps 4 to 7 inches in and around the D.C. area, maybe some isolated higher amounts on the southern side of D.C., some of those Virginia suburbs, for example, to the south and west of the metro area could get 8, 9 inches of snow out of this. In general, maybe 2 to 5 inches across southeastern PA. The higher amounts in that range on the south side of the metro area, the lesser amounts to the north, for example. Southern Chester County should end up getting more snow out of this, and let's say Pottstown or even Doylestown, probably 1 to 3 inches across the New York City metro region. So here is that system generally moving from the west to the east, and again, snow about to break out in the I-95 corridor region by midday DC, mid to late afternoon in Philly. Well, let's walk through some forecast maps from last night's zero-Z run of the GFS, and again, multiple storm systems to deal with over the next 10 days or so. First of all, we've talked about the ridge in the southeastern part of the nation in the upper part of the atmosphere. That is a common feature for La Nina winters, and we certainly are in a La Nina winter. And here is the reflection of those higher heights or higher pressures kind of centered over the southeastern part of the U.S. as we begin the day here on Tuesday, February 11th. Now, this will get knocked down some by next week, and we'll see that in a moment. That could pave the way for a significant East Coast threat by the middle part or latter part of next week. So let's move forward here. And again, this current system does not have much upper level support. We don't see a deep trough in the eastern states in what will turn out to be one of the biggest snowstorms in a while for the DC metro area, for example, but you don't necessarily need that support in the upper atmosphere with respect to an upper level low. What we have here is an overrunning situation where basically warmer air from the south is trying to push up and over colder air locked in to the north and east, and that will lead to some significant snowfall amounts in the southern Mid-Atlantic. Now, we'll move forward here into the day on Wednesday. A strong high-pressure ridging kind of focused over the western part of the Atlantic. There will be another system moving into the northeastern part of the nation on Wednesday night, Thursday time frame that takes kind of an inland track, whereas this current system takes more of a southern route. Current system ends up with low pressure off the Virginia or Carolina coastline by later on tonight, early tomorrow. This next system will move up over the eastern Great Lakes, and that will allow for some warming to reach the Mid-Atlantic region In other words, a mixed precipitation event on the way for later Wednesday night into the day on Thursday. Then we get to the upcoming weekend, and we have still that high pressure region kind of popping up at times over the southeastern part of the nation. And this will be a setup here for the weekend where we have a strong system, a lot of wind, a lot of rain potentially across the immediate I-95 corridor region, focused in, let's say, on Saturday night or so. But there could be snow on the front end of that weekend system in the Mid-Atlantic region, and even snow on the back end. We'll talk about the reasons why over the next couple of minutes here. Then we go into the end of the upcoming weekend, and this is when cold air really starts to flood the northeastern states from the north and west. Basically, cold air overwhelms the pattern by the time we get to Sunday night, especially Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and that could set the stage for a significant East Coast threat here, let's say by the middle or latter part of next week. So again, notice that southeastern U.S. ridge has been knocked away here by the time we get to the early part of next week. And here's that system to watch later next week. Something swinging around the deep south, and it could end up with a storm system right over the East Coast here, let's say about next Thursday or so. We're talking the mid to latter part of next week. So this is something we'll watch. And again, notice no southeastern U.S. ridge for the most part next week. Well, let's look at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies from the 0Z run of the GFS. Cold enough for snow, even down to D.C. with this current system. You go a little farther to the south and east of D.C., there certainly can be mixing going on, maybe the southern part of the Delmarva Peninsula, some mixing going on, but basically a snow event across D.C., much of the Delmarva Peninsula into the southern part of New Jersey. And that's the stretch where we expect to see the highest accumulation amounts, but snow certainly all the way up across southern Pennsylvania into central Pennsylvania, much of New Jersey, New York City as well, though not as much as down across southern Mid-Atlantic. Now, we'll move forward here in time, and whereas today's system ends up taking that southern route to a position off the Carolina or Virginia coastline by late tonight, early tomorrow, this next system will be what we call a cutter, kind of a Great Lakes cutter. It cuts up to the north and west of the I-95 corridor region, and that will allow for some warming, especially aloft, to move in to the Mid-Atlantic region, leading the way for mixed precipitation. Now, cold air, once again, will be reluctant to give up its ground in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Northeast, later tomorrow night, so that could mean some freezing rain again. By the way, there should not be freezing rain today with today's system in the Mid-Atlantic region. Basically all snow from D.C. north and east. However, freezing rain can be a factor later tomorrow night in portions of the Mid-Atlantic region before a changeover to plain rain. Then we move into the end of the week. Friday looks like basically a dry and cold day. A nice day, by the way, for a parade in South Philadelphia, which is when it will occur. And then we go into the upcoming weekend, really kind of a wild weather pattern for the upcoming weekend. We have early indications are that this storm system will move up to the north and west of the I-95 corridor region. However, I think that is not set in stone. When I see a very, very strong high pressure system setting up over southeastern Canada, that kind of is, to me, is a red flag that maybe this system will not slide up well to the north and west of I-95 corridor, but instead will take more of a south and eastern track here, leading to a colder solution for the upcoming weekend. We'll have to monitor that possibility over the next couple of days here. Then we go into Sunday, and here we have that cold blast first reaching the central U.S., and then it basically overwhelms the pattern by the time we get to Monday of next week, and it stays very cold relative to normal through the first half of next week. This is all the way out now to next Wednesday, and this is when that next system will start to rear its ugly head down across the south central states, and it could end up being quite a significant storm along the East Coast, let's say roughly around next Thursday or so. Well, let's walk through the surface forecast maps, again using the conventional version of the GFS from 0Z last night. We do have high pressure parked over New York State this morning. Always a key factor, something I look for winter storms in the northeastern states, is telling me cold air is locked into place. It looks like primarily a snow event, again, from D.C. north and east of Philly to New York City to New Jersey, Delmarva. We'll move forward here in time. The snow tends to want to break out, I think, around midday across the D.C. metro region. Continues to advance to the north and east, probably reaches Philly mid to late afternoon hours. Late afternoon, early evening across New York City. Now you can see here, right here, kind of the heavier band here setting up, and this is the area, Central Virginia, D.C. metro area, cutting across the Delmarva Peninsula in the southern New Jersey. That is where the highest amounts should occur with this system. Again, I'm thinking on average 4 to 7 in the D.C. metro region. Certainly isolated higher amounts are possible, especially to the south of the metro area, maybe 2 to as much as 5 inches across southeastern Pennsylvania, with those higher amounts on the south side of the Philly metro area. Then we get into the late night hours, and notice here the low pressure area over the western Atlantic here, off the coast of Carolina, North Carolina, or Virginia. In other words, it's taking that southern track here. It is not a cutter. It is not cutting up to the north and west. And with this high up to the north, with that track, that allows for virtually all snow from D.C. north and east, and that is not often the case. But in this particular case, the setup is quite good for primarily a snow event in D.C. and north and east. Now you go south and east of D.C., let's say the southern Delmarva, possibility of some mixing, but even there, you have to go pretty far to the south and east to get into that mixing zone here. That pulls away by early tomorrow. Notice here that low pressure not moving up the northeast U.S. coastline, but rather east-northeast out over the open waters of the western Atlantic. Notice, still have that strong high pressure, a key player here by midday on Wednesday. In other words, cold air is still kind of locked into place across much of the Mid-Atlantic, especially the northern Mid-Atlantic and the northeast U.S., and we have a whole new system coming our way. Now that will move north and east, and with some of that cold air in place, certainly can be a mixture of precipitation even in D.C. later tomorrow night. Certainly Philadelphia, New York City can see some snow, then some sleet, then some freezing rain, ultimately plain rain by morning hours on Thursday in the I-95 corridor region. This high does kind of retreat, give up its ground, and that surface low does, in fact, looks like it'll cut to the north and west of I-95 corridor. Again, that will allow for warming, especially aloft, and the result will be plain rain by Thursday morning in much of the southern Mid-Atlantic region. The snow confined to the northeastern U.S. Wednesday night into the day on Thursday. That passes on by in a cold and dry day to end the week across the northeastern part of the nation, and then we'll move into the upcoming weekend. This is going to become quite an impressive system. We'll have to watch out for this Saturday into Sunday. First of all, the earlier signs were that this system will cut up to the north and west of I-95, but we'll see here in a moment. Strong high pressure will build into southeastern Canada. To me, that sends a signal that this could change to more of a southeast type of track here, southeast of this, maybe more something like that, and that will allow for colder air to kind of hang its ground for a longer period of time over the upcoming weekend. We'll go out a little bit farther in time. Here's that strong low here. Cold high pressure starting to build over there in southeastern Canada. And this particular model run, notice here, this has the system over northern Virginia, eastern part of Virginia by Sunday morning, cold air to the north and west, and this is more of a southeastern type of track compared to some of the early model runs that had that cutting way up to the north and west of I-95. Again, that's something that is feasible, that this track ends up sliding a little bit farther to the south and east because of this very strong high here over the southeastern part of Canada. Now, once this moves on to the north and east, cold air will flood the pattern in the Mid-Atlantic, in the northeast U.S. We're talking late in the day on Sunday. That could cause a rain to change over to snow scenario, especially in those higher, excuse me, in those higher elevations across the interior Mid-Atlantic and certainly up across the northeast U.S. Something we'll have to watch out for over the next few days. We have to get by these next two systems first, and then the cold air indeed just kind of floods the pattern here across the northeastern part of the nation. And just speculation phase at this point, but I think this is when that upper level system we saw dropping from the southwestern states into the south central states by the middle of next week could end up causing quite a storm system right along the eastern seaboard by the time we get into roughly next Thursday or so of next week. Remember, we'll have very chilly air in this part of the nation Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. So this could be a very interesting scenario here setting up again for the middle and latter part of next week. So again, wild weather across the nation over the next 10 days or so. Accumulating snow today across much of the Mid-Atlantic region, and then a mixed precipitation event later tomorrow into tomorrow night. And that leads us to kind of a strong storm system over the weekend that can include snow, heavy rain, maybe a thunderstorm, a lot of wind as well Saturday into Sunday. Then the cold air floods the northeastern part of the nation. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.